Okay, I guess this is going to be a video directed at my brother and Jeff Griggs, and I'm going to put it on my Victor Bojo channel, which is my real name. Shot of whiskey, guys. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna shoot that. And it's almost 3 a.m. I haven't been able to sleep. Not because I'm troubled or anything dramatic like that, just because I've been kind of reminiscing. I thought I would share some of this with you guys. At first I thought I'd make a video trying to educate the world on death and life and all that crap, but the truth is they wouldn't, I don't think, unless you really knew Jeff or the story, you wouldn't understand any of it. So I don't know, I don't think Roel ever knew my story with Jeff, so I guess I'll kind of educate him as well. I met Jeff back in 1987 or so. It was funny because I had just crossed over. I think this is, no, maybe this is the first time I went to South America. I went to South America by myself with this noble idea that I was going to read the best books in the world. I had gotten a list of like the top, I don't know, 20 books, you know, must-read books from professors, and I thought I'm going to go to South America and read these books on a mountain. You know, I'm going to sit in Cusco. But I got to Lima, and there was a club there. I'm sure it's still there. It's called the South American Explorers Club, and it was Christmas time or so was coming up, and the woman who was the manager there, she said she didn't. She wanted someone to, like, you know, babysit the club while she was gone. So I took it over. It was a volunteer position. I just worked there basically when people would come in and ask for maps, you know, to do some hiking and stuff. And one day Jeff came in. There was another guy who came in there too, named JJ, and he's on YouTube too somewhere. I gotta find him, JJ something. And he was crazy. He was this ex-Marine who played the guitar and basically would sleep with anything that with a pulse, you know. to our and I guess we were a little envious of him because he had his way with women. He could play the guitar and all that. He was a cool guy, little guy. He's a little guy that you didn't want to fuck with because he had a little insanity, you know. But let me show you a picture of. I was looking at all these notebooks. I used to keep journals. I mean, really, it was really dedicated. I'm gonna show you a picture. I don't know if I can, how close I should get to this. Look at this. That's Jeff up there, and way back there you don't really see him, but that's about 20 years ago. And anyway, Jeff was very cold when I first introduced him. I was always kind of a nerd, and I guess still am. Jeff I always thought was just cool, you know. He was a Clint Eastwood type character, tough as nails, never complained, drink hard, but you know, he was a little crazy too. Anyway, long story short, we became friends and we started hiking. We got together and took this trip, all of us, the two of us and this girl named Wendy, I think was her name, and these two other girls, Sheila maybe, and someone else, maybe Monica, I don't remember. And we started hiking or traveling south to Carnivale. We're going to go to Brazil. And I think, like, I had been traveling a little bit by myself as well, and I'd met this girl, Alejandra, beautiful Argentinian girl that I had a crush on, but JJ was actually gunning for her. So, and it looks like they were, you know, matching up. But anyway, long story short, we got to Argentina. I went to Argentina by myself and ahead of time, and I met Alejandra. Not gunning for her, just called her up to see what was up. And she, oh yeah, and there was this girl named Laura Navarro who actually contacted me on Facebook just the other day. Anyway, long story short, I kind of got hooked up with this girl, Alejandro. JJ arrived a few weeks later. Jeff arrived. They were all pissed off. Well, not Jeff, but JJ was pissed off that I had taken his girl, although nothing had ever happened between them. And anyway, we went up to Carnival to Sao Paulo. Jeff knew a photographer there who was friends of his family. He was a friend of a friend back in New York City. These other Brazilians. supposedly they were actually connected to the CIA, retired CIA agents and stuff. I think his name was Alejandro, I think, but I don't remember. Anyway, we got to stay with him. Oh no, maybe I forgot what his name was, but he lived in La Alexandria, which is a section of Sao Paulo. And anyway, we stayed there, and they had two really hot maids. One was black or dark, and the other one was white. So it was kind of, you know, it was just kind of funny because they were both had crushes on me. And we couldn't speak the language at all, you know, just a little bit. We could understand a little bit. We all spoke Spanish, and none of us spoke Portuguese, but we went off. We had a great time at Carnival. I remember they put a big leash, like a dog leash, on Geof, and he danced around in his big awkward self like this, because, you know, remember, he was kind of a giant of a guy, and they handed the leash off to people, and people would take him around. But on the way back from Brazil, I lost my money, or he lost his money. We didn't have enough money. I think I lost my money. We didn't have enough money. We ended up having to, like, hitchhike, and it was miserable. I remember it was like we had almost no money for food, and it took us a long time to get back, you know, hitchhiking and stuff. We finally got back to Argentina, and I don't know. That's how our friendship started. In the old days, he had this funny quirk where if he were sleeping and you disturbed him, he would jump up fully alert and attack you, you know. And I remember there was this one girl that he punched in the face. He got up and suddenly punched her. Not on purpose, of course, just because of his, you know, quirk that he had. That seemed to have settled down later, because I knew him a long time. That was the first time, I guess, we shared the same sleeping area. But anyway, I don't remember how that whole trip ended, except that we, you know, eventually parted ways, and I went back to New York, and I don't know, like 6 months later or a year later, I guess it was not somewhere in 1988, I got a call from California, where he was. I don't even know where he went to school, to be honest. I mean, Jeff Griggs knows all that stuff, but I was more of a traveling friend. But he calls me up and he says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I was finishing up college, and I had like 1 credit left or something, so I was driving a taxi a lot, or probably, I don't know. This is all, you know, I don't remember well, but I was sharing an apartment with Anilesh, this Indian guy, my roommate, good buddy, and I don't remember who else, but maybe this girl Shira was one of our roommates. But we had an apartment with 1, 2, 3 bedrooms, and Jeff came, and he became one of our roommates. And he didn't have any money. When he called me, he said, "What are you doing, Victor?" And I said, "I'm driving a taxi in New York." So I remember one of the things I learned from Jeff, one of the things that I admired from him, that I decided to adopt, was his lack of stinginess. He was really, really uncaring with his money, to the point of being irresponsible sometimes, I think. Maybe that's why he had no money when he called me. But anyway, when he called me, and I said, "Oh, I'll lend you the money." So I sent him the money. I bought him the airplane ticket, and he came out to New York, and I paid for his taxi school. It was like $400 or something to get a taxi license. And I think actually that's what these photographs are for. Actually, the ones I just showed you, because they say taxi TLC. I think that means taxi and limousine commission. And they required a collar, and I didn't have a collar. But anyway, and a plain background. But this picture has cows in the background, so it's kind of silly. But anyway, he became a taxi driver, and we drove taxis in New York, and we would get up. Well, we'd go to work at like whatever, 4 p.m., 3 p.m. And the way it was rigged is, because we were new, we had to wait for a taxi for a long, long time. So we would go and hand in our licenses, and they would put the licenses in a line, and then we'd go and play billiards, you know, pool in those days. They had pool halls where you rent the tables, no drinking, just pool. And we'd play like for 2 hours until it was time until our car would come up, you know. And there would be we'd get different cars. We weren't driving together, but because of because of our status as lowly new drivers, we always have to wait a long time. So we get there sometimes like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, and we'd have to wait till 5 to get out. Well, so we played, you know, billiards for 3 or 4 hours, and he almost always won. I think I beat him only maybe 2 or 3 times, but. And one of the funny things about Geof was that he always swore he beat me, and he did most of the time. And he always swore, "I'm always right." He said, "I'm always right." There's a few rules. He was, in a way, he was kind of as intelligent as he was. He had made up these kind of rules to his life, like everybody knows everything. That's something I still say sometimes, you know. Basically meaning anything you suspect, you actually know. You're just waiting for confirmation. And it's a good way to think about things. Anyway, that was one of the things that was funny about him. He was always right, and he would always swear, "I've never been wrong." Especially when it came to arguments with me. Anyway, we drove taxis at night, and we'd walk home in the morning. We'd get off, you know, both it's 5 a.m. and walk home, and it was kind of neat. Like I'd go jogging sometimes. I don't think he would jog. I think he just went to sleep. But I'd be wired up, and I'd go jogging for a while. My hair was really long, as you can see, you know, from the pictures. And there was, you know, there was always a danger of getting mugged. So we had all these funny ways of where to hide our money, like hide it in a. In those days we had crappy cars, so we'd bring our own portable radio with us. And yeah, we had our own portable radio, and I had a yellow Sony waterproof thing. I don't remember what he had. I think something black, some cheap whatever Panasonic. Anyway, we hid our money all over our bodies, our shoes, you know, socks and shit. And we had mace. We had mace, right? Or at least he had. I don't know if I had mace, but he had mace. Anyway, we didn't live together all the time, you know, while we were driving. There was a time when, for some reason, he moved out. Maybe he went away and then he came back, and I don't remember what it was, but he was living with those friends from Brazil that he knew, the ex-CIA. And he'd walk home to their house, which was in a different part of town. But we'd walk part of the way home, and I think I'd get on the L train to go to Brooklyn. I think I lived somewhere, I want to say Greenwich, but that doesn't make sense. I don't remember the place, but it's near where the Hasidic Jews all live. And I think now it's the artsy-fartsy, you know, part of Brooklyn. But one day, I wasn't there, but he calls me after I got home. He's like, "Victor, I just got mugged. I think my face is broken." And what these 3 punks had screwed with them, and one of them had picked up a bottle and, you know, hit it right across the face, and he was able to mace them all. And they all panicked. They didn't know what he had. They didn't know if he had a gun or something. Oh, I did have mace. I remember I maced someone once too. That's a different story, but yeah, it was like they broke my face. It wasn't like cheekbone. It was like my face, which is funny because you think, and he's a biology major, right? You'd think he would use the proper anatomical words to refer to his bones on his face. Anyway, there was a time where we lived together in this sub rental, what do you call it, where you rent from someone who's renting already, in Lower East Side, Lower East Side, maybe between Avenue A, Alphabet City, between Avenue A and B, like 7th Street or some really shitty part of town. They sold heroin on our street, and I remember they shot a Harvey Keitel movie like down the street from us. It was about a rental. What do you call those rent landlords that do bad things? There's a certain nickname for them, you know. I forget. You know, it's 3 in the morning, but anyway, it was the point being it was a really shitty part of town. And we lived together there. It was like a 1-bedroom with a living room, kitchen, bedroom, and we often you know we slept like immigrants. You know, we'd sleep on the floor sometimes in the same room or something. Sometimes we stayed with a girl, Dana, and she let us sleep on her living room floor for a while. But anyway, one day yeah, there was a time like before we parted ways. We were both going in different directions. I was going to, he was leaving early. He was saving his money to go to Alaska and become a fisherman. or a fish counter. He was going to go to Alaska, and because of his biology degree, he was going to ride on the big boats and make sure that the fishermen weren't taking too much fish, and just kind of be the environmental kind of a sheriff or something. I don't know exactly what it was, but anyway, fish counter of some sort. So, so before we were both going off on that trip, that was the last trip that we went. I don't remember now. We went to South America 2 times. Maybe it was the second time. Before we went to South America the second time, right? We rented a taxi for weeks by the week instead of by the day. So we had it 24 hours, for a week. I think it was costing us like $1,000 a week or something, or $800 a week. But it was cheaper than renting per day. And we would take it in shifts, right? I would ride it for 12 hours, sometimes 24 hours, sometimes 36 hours, and then he would do the same. So we gave each other breaks that way, and we made more money because we could save the money, from the taxi. It was cheaper. The rate was cheaper. So anyway, we were living in this dump in Lower East Side, and one day we walk out, and there's a mouse that was on fly paper. It was stuck, and a couple of its legs were broken. It had broken its legs trying to get off. And I remember I said, "Oh man, look at that's terrible." And he looked at it, and almost without thinking, he just brought his foot down on it and crushed it, killed it. And I was like, "Shit! Oh my God, what did you do?" He's like, had to be done, right? And I remember, I think I started to understand some things my father had told me, that those who can do, or maybe something I picked up in literature, I don't know. Those who can do the difficult things do the difficult things. If someone's got to do it. It's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it. That kind of theory. Anyway, we went off to Central America, and that's what it was. We went off to Central America, and we actually got one of these drive-away cars where we were driving someone's car all the way to Texas. And we did that, and driving was hard. I would get sleepy a lot in those. I don't know why. That one trip, I'm usually pretty good, but like driving a taxi, no problem. I could stay up 36 hours, but just driving on the highway, I get sleepy. He was better at that. We drove all the way to Texas, and then we had to dump the car like in Houston and hitchhike all the way to Brownsville. So we split up because no one's going to pick up 2 guys. So we split up, and I got picked up by a bunch of homosexual Mexicans, and he got picked up by KKK members and white Aryans and shit. Well, we both got a couple families too, but people were pretty cool. People picked us up a lot. And anyway, we got to Brownsville. We hadn't planned out where to meet. Like, let's just go there and meet on the other side, whatever it was. I forgot, Matamoros, I think is the name of the city in Mexico. We crossed over, and I was like, how the hell am I gonna meet this guy? I don't know where. We didn't have any meeting place. And by the way, Brownsville's a dump. So we crossed over into Matamoros, and I'm walking down the street trying to think, how am I gonna meet him? And then I see him, and he crouches down. He looks at me, crouches down, and goes, there he is. I remember, for some reason, that image is frozen in my head. And we hung out there a day, and then we went to some seaside city where we stayed for a couple weeks. Really dangerous place. We were trying to hitch a ride on a boat over to Europe. We thought maybe we could get jobs working on the boat, even though we had no experience or licenses or anything. And that failed, so we just kept heading south. That's right. We headed south into all the trips get confused, but I think that's when we went to Guatemala and we mined for gold. We went to this shitty little town. We collected all this equipment. We built our troughs where we would throw the dirt in to separate the dirt from the gold. And we carried all this on our backpacks into the jungle. And we slept in hammocks, and it rained every single night, and we got almost no gold. We took shits in the woods, and every day we watched people walking by with guns. I was always thinking, well, we're just gonna get killed and end up dead, buried out here in the jungle. In the end, we stayed, I think, just a few days, and after a few days we thought, let's just quit and have fun. Let's just camp. So we slept in our hammocks and camped, and he got bit up a lot. He was really sensitive to bugs. Bugs would bite him and leave a really big purple mark. I was, me being half Amazonian, I had no problem. Bugs didn't bother me at all. But we'd swim in the river every day. It was a very shallow little river. And, you know, whatever. We had some rice and stuff we'd cook and beans and walk around and watch the other miners and stuff. And then after that, we got out of there and we started heading south again. And he met some chick, I don't remember. Then they broke up and he treated her badly. You know. Then he met another girl, who was our friend, and he was kind of a playboy in those days. But anyway, there was we had some kind of little beef, both of us being full of testosterone. And we headed south. In Guatemala we met this, I met this girl named Beth from England. And she just played with me. It was terrible. But that was it. There was Jackie, the New Zealander, Beth, being a British woman, and Dina, I think, this American woman. Anyway, we ended up parting ways. I remember there's a big tick. I got a big tick in my underwear that day. One day I reached into my pants and pulled out a big old tick. Anyway, we parted ways in Guatemala, and I kept going south. I don't know what he did. I think he ended up doing something there, but I went south with Jackie, actually, the girl who she was riding her bicycle down the coast. I went south. I went with her for a couple of days, and then I just kept going by myself. I went all the way down overland, except between Colombia and Panama. Anyway, that's kind of a different story. So we lost touch. And I'm forgetting something. That was the second trip. Yeah, and after that he went off to do his fishing thing, and I went back to New York City to get more money and finish school. Maybe, I don't know, or just work. I think I was finished with school then. But I remember on the first trip I got lost in the mountain. My bus broke down in the mountains, and my parents were frantic. They were calling the embassy because I was missing for like 4 days, you know. And I finally got home, and I remember Geof had been coming to my aunt's house where I was staying to see every day, you know, if I had arrived yet. So he was really, you know, I was touched, you know, that he was really worried about me. And there was a time, in our life a long time ago when we were really pretty good friends, and I think I was more surprised at at the fact that he cared, because in the beginning I think he just seemed so cold, but he really did care. Yeah, he did care. When he came back to New York, I remember a girl broke his heart, and I was always surprised that when he showed emotion. You know, I remember him lying on his back one day, and tears just coming out of his eyes because he was upset over this girl who I didn't even know he liked. I mean, that's how hidden he was with his emotions sometimes. But yeah, and then there were always times with girls where I would call him or he would call me. Well, mostly it was me calling him. Two times, maybe three. Yeah, 2 times. When I called him because a girl had broken my heart, and he was always really caring, relaxing, comforting. Anyway, long story short, time passes. He went off. We'd had some kind of, I thought, a little, you know, disagreement in Guatemala, but he went off to do his fishing thing, and we were still talking, you know, letters once in a while. And then he would tell me that there was this girl, he kind of liked her, didn't know if she was still out, you know, she still liked him. And she was out in Seattle, I think, or San Francisco, I don't remember where she was. But anyway, I got tickets. I got like a $50 bus pass to go around the whole country before I went off to Japan, because that's where I was headed. I was headed to Japan, so it must have been like 1992 now, or 91. And I thought, before I go to Japan, I'm going to see Geof, visit Geof, you know, because he's gonna come down from Alaska. He was in Alaska. He was going to come down the coast and see me. And we met, I think it was Seattle or San Francisco. I can't remember, to be honest, but I think it was Seattle. Oregon? Who knows? Anyway, it was a place where everyone thought I was an American Indian. And everywhere I walked, people would ask, well, when we went into bars, people would ask us what tribe I was from. But I remember when I met him coming off the bus in whatever city that was. I'm sure it's in my notes here, all these notes we have, these tons of, you know, I have like 5 of these books, but I remember how happy he seemed to see me, and it was always kind of a special, the smile that Geof had, because he didn't smile that much, you know, especially with guys. I don't know, maybe I imagine it was quite different with Takako and his wife. I'm betting he smiled a lot more with her, well, which is good. Why not? You know. But as soon as we met in that city, we went off to a bar to shoot billiards and then catch up, have a couple beers. And we were in this bar for a little while, shooting pool. And I look up and I notice like the posters are like all half-dressed men. And I'm like, and he's oblivious to this, right? And I look around and I look down the bar and like it's all men. And I'm like, Jeff, this is a gay bar. And it was. We had stumbled into a gay bar. But it was, you know, nobody bothered us. I guess they thought we were together or whatever. But anyway, soon after that I went off to Japan. And within 6 months, he'd calling me up again saying, hey, can I come out? I said, sure. I think I lent him the money again, or he stayed with me for free. Anyway. But yeah, that was the thing about Jeff. He was so the generosity with the money is something I learned with him. And I think it's, I'm capable of that with people that I think are capable of it, but I'm a little bit more guarded now. I think I had some bad experiences, but yeah, like I won't let Raul let money now. Yeah, you're watching. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Raul. Anyway, so he came to Japan, and yeah, we got a house. We were renting a house together, and then we started getting letters from this girl Dina, and then she stopped writing him and started writing me, and he took great offense to it. It's all a complicated story. But anyway, he left the house and he's like, he was hurt by that and he left. And I was really into this girl then. I was a really serious girlfriend then. So we kind of lost touch for about a year. And then one day that girl broke up with me and I called him and we met for a drink. And it was, you know, like old times again. We were friends for a long time. And I guess that's pretty much what happened. Then the rest of it's kind of all recent, you know, fairly recent until the coma. But we'd had a falling out, you know, which I took pretty personal for a while. But it was kind of ironic that I kind of decided to forgive him, not for his sake but my sake. You know, I'm sure he would argue he didn't need forgiving and wouldn't ask for it. But things had cooled off then, and you know, things had changed. Things change. That was then, this is now. The same old story, you know, in a way. But we got into business together, and that went south. And to be honest, that's why I'm on YouTube. I mean, that's a big part of my life now is making these stupid videos. And part of it is thanks to Jeff, because of some stuff that went down in the bar that we owned together, I got out of it, and I had all this free time now. Part of it, of course, the other part was the Sushi Cabaret Club, who I felt screwed me over as well. But that's the thing about when you're talking about people who are dead. It's almost impossible to avoid talking about yourself, because that's how he, you know, he in death or in life he affected me, and now he's gone. But I guess my life has been I can't say the word. Irrevocably changed because of what of the way that we interacted in our life. And so thanks to him now this is what happened, and I ended up where I am now. So I will say one thing though. He always said never get a dog. He said get a cat. I'm allergic to cats, and I'm glad I didn't follow his advice on that. I guess I can't say I'm glad we're not friends, or we weren't really friends at the end. From what I understand from Jeff Griggs telling me is that he was kind of ready to let it go, or maybe he never really held a grudge or anything. But and I felt the same way. But I guess I kind of lost him a long time ago. So this evening I was riding my bicycle home, and I saw a guy with a denim blue jacket with a white lining inside, just like the one that he had lent me or left, I think in New York a while back. I think that's what it was. He left it in New York, and then when I came out to Oregon, or where the hell that was, Seattle, I gave it back to him, and he was surprised that I still had it. But I always liked that jacket. It was a denim jacket. I saw some guy in Sakai tonight, and I was like, I want that jacket. I wonder if Geof could like ask for it, maybe let me hold on to it for a while again. Of course, when I was thinking that, I had no idea Geof had passed already. But I was thinking that would be kind of nice. You know? But I don't think the Kako would like it if I had that. And then yeah, that was strange. And then I got home and Raul emailed me that just simple 2 words, Rast died. Oh, so I want to leave you with something funny. If there's anything funny that can be said from this. So check this out. So this is February 16th, 1988, and we were in Buenos Aires, and we were talking with me, some guy named Nico, I don't remember him, Alejandra, the girl I was with, and this kind of whore girl. Oh no, I'm sorry, this girl who was after Geof, named Luciana. And in the bar, they were all, I guess it was really noisy, so they were writing notes to each other. And this is the these are some of this is one of the notes he wrote. He said, this is lists of things to do in Spanish. Cosas que necesito hacer. The first one, despertarme, I have to wake up. Number 2, vomitar por lo menos 3 veces. I have to throw up at least 3 times. Number 4, ir al baño, go to the bathroom. Number 3, what did I do that? Despertarme, vomitar, ir al baño, comer, eat. 5, quebrar la cabeza contra una pared. Break my head against the wall. Number 6, die, morir. And Luciana wrote, why? And Geof said, porque no puedo decir soy un yankee de mierda con pronunciación correcta. Which means, and I didn't pronounce it right, but because I can't say I'm a shitty American with correct pronunciation. And Luciana wrote, but I'm still loving you. Which I don't think she really knew. She wrote that in English. Because the whole thing was in Spanish except for that part. Anyway. But Geof he wrote some funny stuff, and here's something else he wrote. I'll read you because I think it's funny. Geof wrote, women. I've spent more time with people so poor that if you gutted them and made them eat their own intestines, they'd come back and ask for seconds. Than you have. Don't try to pretend that you're not a fucking bourgeois like the rest of us. He's talking to Luciana. I mean, shit, here we are drinking beers while 1 million South American children die every year of diarrhea. It's your fault too, and it's a bunch of fucking bullshit when you try to pin the guilt on others like Yankees, like Americans. Luciana didn't really refute him very well. This goes on, but luckily I took a lot of notes of this. And then one thing he wrote, and I noticed in another book, he wrote it in his handwriting. This is his handwriting. He wrote, though he had the strength in his hands of 10 men, his enemies were not men, and the Grendel was perpetual and dark and surrounding, and though he tore at its arms and pounded the walls in fury, its power broke him slowly, relentlessly, carefully, until his will was sucked dry, leaving his mind vacant, and sobbing within the husk of his frame, and his arms falling at his side in black despair. It's kind of spooky when you think of what happened now, but I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in those notebooks that you can interpret in different ways. Anyway, yeah, he was an amazing guy, and he affected me in ways that I don't even like admitting, but he did. And thanks to him, my life is kind of in this direction. So I don't believe in God, I don't believe in heaven, I don't believe he's looking down or anything, but I'd be glad if I were wrong. That's enough. Thanks for listening.